Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girabharadhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girabharadhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachariya Yamunatira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihariya Up there. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihariya Ya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girabharadhariya Ya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girabharadhariya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachariya Yamunatira Vanachariya. Let's clap away. Oh! Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Oh Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajyata Satara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajyata Satara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se Gausi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindaki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Sri Vrindavanam Ki Navadvip Mayapur Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Vrihat Mridanga Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrindaki All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Marga Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Satarine. Hare Krishna. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much. Haribol. Is everyone having a good time in the Dham? Good. Today we're looking at Canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's chapter 13, the appearance of Lord Varaha, and it's the last shloka in this chapter. 50. Ko nāma loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhavāpahām aho virajyeta vinā naretaram. Someone else? Loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhava-apahām virajyeta vinā naretaram. Ko nāma loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhava-apahām virajyeta vinā naretaram. Mataji. Ko nāma loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhava-apahām virajyeta vinā naretaram. Ko nāma loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhava-apahām virajyeta vinā naretaram. Anybody else? Ko nāma loke puruṣārtha-sāravit purā-kathānāṁ bhagavat-kathā-sudhām āpīya karṇa-añjalibhiḥ bhava-apahām virajyeta vinā naretaram. Thank you very much. Kaha, who? Nāma, indeed. loke, in the world, puruṣa-artha, goal of life, sāra-vit, one who knows the essence of, purā-kathānāṁ, of all past histories, bhagavat, regarding the personality of Godhead, bhava-kathā-sudhām, the nectar of the narrations about the personality of Godhead, āpīya, by drinking, karṇa-añjalibhiḥ, by aural reception, bhava-apahām, that which kills all material pangs. Aho, alas, virajyeta could refuse, vinā, accept, nara-itaram, other than the human being. Translation: who, other than one who is not a human being, can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? So please repeat. Who, other than one who is not a human being, can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can read the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, can deliver one from all material pangs? And purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Marga Swami Prabhupada. The narration of the activities of the personality of Godhead is like a constant flow of nectar. No one can refuse to drink such nectar except one who is not a human being. Devotional service to the Lord is the highest goal of life for every human being. And such devotional service begins by hearing about the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Only an animal or a man who is almost an animal in behavior can refuse to take an interest in hearing the transcendental message of the Lord. There are many books of stories and histories of the world, but except for the histories or narrations on the topics of the personality of Godhead, none are capable of diminishing the burden of material pangs. Therefore, one who is serious about eliminating material existence must chant and hear about the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, one must be compared to the non-humans. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Lord Varaha. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a great fortune it is for me to be sitting here before you all and being able to say something of worthwhile. Okay, first of all, the appearance of Lord Varaha. Now, I don't know if many of you know, I was raised on a family farm, and I used to gather the eggs, and I don't do that anymore. And so I went to the chicken coop, and to get there you have to walk through a sort of a pasturing area. and there was a rooster who was highly protective, and he would just come right at you. And I made sure I had a pitchfork with me. He would just come, jump on you, peck at you. I mean, he was mean. He was serious. And so that was one thing. I used to go and get up at 5:30 in the morning and milk our family cow. I would go through the mist in the pasture, try to find the cow to begin with. And as soon as she saw me, coming my way, she would just get up, and it was a big endeavor. Holsteins are big. It's a real big deal to get up on your forelegs and then follow a trail. Cows always make trails, just like deer do. They chalk out a path. And so it would take 20 minutes to milk that cow, and then I'd go back to sleep until it was time to go to school. And then, like on our farm, we had peacocks, we had pheasants, we had a pony, a goat. I mentioned about cows. We also had pigs. Like they've always been gross for me. I remember being at a stockyard. I used to go to these places where they sell animals, and with my dad. And I remember being in one particular stall, and this massive boar came, and he was charging towards me, and I don't know how I got out of it, but he was mean, he was aggressive. As far as I can remember, I just grabbed the ends of the stall and just let him come under me. And but I never was very fond of pigs. And then when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, and I heard we have a pig that we worship, I was thinking, okay, let me look at him. And we were looking at some of the renderings, by the artists, and usually, Varahadev, as we know him, he looks pretty majestic. He wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. But I had to, accept he's one of the Das avatar. He's one of the favorite avatars. And in the Bhagavatam, we have a list of at least 20 or so avatars. The Bhagavatam also explains there are as many avatars as there are waves on the ocean, so you can't limit it, right? Das avatar, I guess it's just become somewhat familiarized with people. So anyways, we like Varaha because there's a special connection with the earth, right? And we're earthlings after all. Boars or whatever sows, they'll change your landscape. They'll just, if you give them some land, they'll just go and bore into it with their tusks or with their powerful snout, and they'll make swimming pools, mud baths. They'll create something that looks like 1967 or whenever it was, Woodstock, when all the young people were going out and having fun in the mud. So hearing about Varahadev is kind of exciting because the Earth planet was in peril, and we know a little bit why, and the boar came around. So I'll tell you a little story, because this is about stories here. When I first met devotees, I was going to college in Northern Ontario, and I met B.B. Govinda Swami. His name was a Yojapati at the time, Vishvakarma, Dustadura, Drupada, and Satyahit. Some of these devotees might be known to you. And so I was kind of serious about spiritual life. I saw the devotees chanting on the street. It was at Christmas time. I didn't like Christmas. I like Jesus, but I didn't like Christmas. Is that okay? Okay, you know what I mean. It gets very commercial-like. So the devotees were out there just chanting with all their hearts, and basically the Christmas shopping crowd had more or less died down. And there they were, just 5 of them by themselves. And I met with them. I invited them to my apartment, and we had a good time. That's all I can say. I was curious. I didn't want to let them know that I was really interested in what they were talking about. And so there was one devotee, Satyahit. He was looking out the window, and this was a mining town. Said, this is a very sinful place. And he started to talk about Hiranyaksha, this demon. And to me, this was all like fairy tale, you know, it couldn't be real. So that Hiranyaksha was boring into the earth and taking gold and putting it up its axis, right? And so then this boar came along, this great majestic boar, and I'm very green. This is all very new to me. And he's talking about this boar with his tusks, and he's taking the earth out of the causal waters, and it was all very strange to me. But the devotees sold me. They were just so kind. They were so nice. And another little story I want to say about stories. It was 2002. I was walking across Canada, and I was in a place called Saskatchewan. Have you ever heard of that before? Yeah, thank you. Saskatchewan. It was kind of not a very nice day, very overcast, and the wind was quite strong. And a person pulled over, and he was in a corporate suit, you know, and he just wanted to know if I wanted a lift. And I told him I'm not taking any rides, I'm walking across the country. And then we started to talk. He was very curious, you know, when you see like something orange in the distance, and I've been called a moving traffic cone, you know, from the distance, you know. And so this guy pulled over, he was very curious, he thought maybe I'm alone. That's one thing about Saskatchewan, the culture is so kind of like barren and flat, and it gets very cold. And if you're just walking, you probably are abandoned or you're destitute. So let me see what I can do to help. That was the mood of this man. So we said, I told him I can't take any rides. He said, well, he mistook me for being Buddhist. So he said, I was dabbling with Buddhism, but my mind reverts back to Christianity, which is what I was born into. I was raised by Christians. But I have so many doubts because the stories are so wild and far-fetched. And then I said, you mean like the story about the massive boat, the ark, and animals coming in, a male giraffe and a female giraffe, and elephants, just couples, pairs coming in. And then there was a major storm, went for 7 days and 7 nights, and everything was devastated and destroyed. And then finally the storm ended, and the ark landed somewhere, and all the animals came out, and there was a rejuvenation, so I explained to the gentleman, are you talking about that kind of story? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you think those stories are really wild? You have to read some of the stories in our books called the Vedas. So I didn't volunteer to say anything strange in that regards. But I did say, well, they may come across as myth to some people. They may come across as not dealing with reality. But there's always some truth behind every myth. Every mythological story has something behind it, a lesson to be learned. So I explained to him that the essence behind a myth, in our particular tradition, it's something called bhakti. And bhakti means, undivided devotional sentiment for God, the Creator. And he liked that very much. He went away, I hope a little bit enriched, and I certainly did, because I had a chance to talk to somebody about, something that was important. So this guy, he was in a suit, but he was in a muscle truck. They're really super, spruced up kind of vehicles. And he went away. I get a little bit enriched. And so this is what happens sometimes when you're out there in the world. There are stories there that will encourage us to appreciate what life is really all about. And atato brahma jignasa, as you've heard before, our purpose here in this world, after going through many lives, is to cultivate our spiritual life, is to question what is Brahman and who am I. Another Vedic mantra, janmadishyataha, which arises in the first shloka from the Bhagavatam, is, let's try to understand the Creator, where everything comes from. And there's so many Vedic mantras that will help us to achieve the ultimate goal of life. So that those are some stories, and we're just kind of like wrapping up with this particular pastime of the great boar, and we also have many other animals. I always thought it was beautiful to note that God takes many different forms, many different species. We are to assume that God comes in the form of a human, but also God appears as a massive fish and a lion, and I think for a lot of people, the lion is one of our favorites. Am I right about that? Do we all like Narasimha? He's a pretty cool avatar, if there ever was. Yeah. So it's an endorsement by Krishna to say, I'm with you all. I'm with all the species. I'm not just with humans. I'm there for you. And I'll come as some kind of hero, some kind of protector in this regard. So this is how many of the chapters are wrapped up, sewn up, just reminding everyone that you've just read a story. Wasn't it a great story? It was better than the best bedtime stories when you were young. And it's something that leaves us with some kind of hope, some kind of ability to move forward in this very crazy world. We are living in a difficult time. Would you not admit that this is a very, if you follow the news just a little bit, poquito, just a tiny bit, you'll be quite disturbed by all that's going on. And so it's behooves us to carry on and hear stories that provide some kind of hope and something to do with transcendence, something beyond this physical body. And definitely we are not this body, but we are much more than that. And in my different walks that I've done in different countries, it's always so pleasing to be able to communicate with people on that note. We are not this body. I was in Ohio, and one guy, he pulled up, this is another guy in a muscle truck, for some reason or other. He said, I see you're a monk, and can you give me some words of wisdom? I said, well, I'll try. So you and I were in the human form of life, and human beings are meant for walking. So that's what we should be doing, to take care of our outward self. The human form of life is also meant for cultivating the spiritual side, the soul, and that we must spend some time doing as well. So I could tell the man was really in a rush. He was, again, like in a business suit, and it's nice to get those kind of people to stop once in a while. They're always in a hurry. And so he went. He was very happy, gave a nice donation. He's on his way, and I continued walking across the United States, happy as a lark. Yeah, so this is a beautiful pastime, like many, and a lot of dynamics. The devotees who were telling me about Hiranyaksha went on about Hiranyakashipu, and then B.B. Govinda Swami was reading for me something a little bit more romantic, I guess you could say, about the gopis being attracted by the flute of Krishna. I was so tired. It was the first time the devotees were in the room with me, and they all slept on the floor. I had my bed, and I did not sleep 1 second. It was the first time I ever had an insomnia attack. And I guess my mind was so stirred up because I felt these guys were going to do something with me. and like positive, favorable. I was certainly not attracted to their dress code. It didn't look very appealing at all. One of them had an eye patch on, shaven head, chic in the back. In the early 70s, that was just not cool. The only person who looked cool in those days was Mr. Clean, with a tight white t-shirt on, had an earring, and he had a big smile on his face. Maybe I'm just speaking from North American perspective, but anyways, he was the only cool guy with a shaven head. All right. So just after Bibi Govinda Swami read this pastime to me from the Krishna book, I said, "This is very nice. I wonder who came up with this story. I wonder who really was the author of this text." He sort of, I questioned him. He bypassed that, and he just was content that he was able to deliver to me a beautiful story about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is this special connection, And what was nice about this is conjugal. We're talking about Krishna and his relationship with the gopis, and we're right on cue here. Haribol. Sisi Radha. Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Yeah, so I got a real dose at that time, and the devotees left after some time. They had the biggest breakfast I'd ever seen. I don't know how they wolfed it down. If you can imagine what it's like, a devotee breakfast, even what we have here in the Holy Dham, I mean, we really pig it out, if I can use that term. Everybody's like Varaha, at the meals that we have here. And but it's okay, it's very much our pastime. I think we do eat a bit, maybe. I must admit, I eat more. And I probably shower more than I do, only because I eat maybe too much. You can understand the connections. But I think, when will the day come? Like, who is the person that will take super interest in these particular leelas and pastimes? Now, as most of you know, I'm a thespian kind of person. I've been involved in drama. I guess it was 30 years ago I started to work with the Guru Kulis and put on pastimes, and I just love the stories. And of course, you have to put your own little kind of twist to it, modernize it, modify it a little bit, make it relevant. As my good friend here, Sureshwara, who's a great writer, I passed to him a script and I said, "Could you tweak this for me?" And then, this is something we always say every time we meet. Our mantra is, tweaking is forever, okay? So James Bond, there was a movie, Diamonds Are Forever, but really it's tweaking is forever in terms of what you're going to put out as far as devotional service is concerned. So it's always a pleasure to assemble these stories and make something of it so it'll be catchy, relevant, and it was something that Prabhupada very much liked. In fact, he said the play is better than the book, after some devotees had presented Krishna kidnapping Rukmini, and that was in New York City. Not that Krishna kidnapped Rukmini in New York City, but when the devotees presented the drama and that pastime there. Yeah. There's so much here, so much wealth, and so much to give out to the world, so much richness. I personally feel, I'm a little worried, a little scared. We don't entertain ourselves through dramatical presentations or performances, the likes of what Prabhupada enjoyed very much. Someone else is going to do it and make it popular. I hope that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the members will make these pastimes known to the world. Aren't they? I find more and more as I travel around or walk around, people have become more acquainted with our culture. Fortunately, it's taught in schools, comparative religions. People learn about Krishna. Here's one thing that I think I related to you once before. I was in Pennsylvania and I was walking, and we came to Juniata College. And I was invited to speak to the religious department students there. And
The teacher there, she was a vegetarian. I just can't remember her name right now. But we got everyone to dance and chant and explain a little bit about the philosophy and all that. When my presentation was over, one of the girls came over. She had blue hair. And she said, "Swami, I just want to tell you something. Hinduism is the last thing we studied. First of all, we opened up to the pages of Judaism and Christianity, and we went to Islam, and in all cases, we hear about a vindictive God, a God to fear, a God to, that makes you shake, And then we went to some other traditions, and finally we went to Hinduism, and our professor here told us the story about Krishna. And Krishna, he went to the river, and there were some ladies there, milkmaids, and they were swimming, because, the river had, as you know, a section for the women, section for the men. And then she proceeded to tell the story in some detail, which was kind of nice. And then Krishna decided that he would snatch the clothes of the girls, and if you really want them, you have to come and get them from me personally. So when we studied this about the God from India, our jaws were wide open after hearing about the rendition of what God is like in many other traditions. And so I then asked her, so what was the reaction? Did they feel that Krishna was like a playboy or something like that? Did they feel he was too erotic or something like that? And I said, no, we really like him. We like the fact he's very charming and he's like the God of love and all that. So all glories to the teacher for telling the story in a nice way in a devotional format, right? So we've got lots of stories in our tradition, and they deserve to be from the page to the stage. And I guess maybe one day, if we ever get there, very highly evolved in our Krishna consciousness, maybe we'll be in some kind of trance, some kind of bhava. I'm not forcing it. Personally, I don't deal with the intimate pastimes of the Lord so much. I don't like to touch it with a 10-foot pole, honestly, to be honest. I just like the fighting scenes. I like the conflict. I like the battles. I like that better. I like the interaction with people, the interaction with, the good and the evil, and also sometimes like Shiva and Parvati, the communication they had with each other, the man and the woman thing. And even here we're reading about Diti and her interaction with Kashyapa Muni. It's good. It's good stuff. It's meaty, if I can use that term. It's wholesome, really. And it's very human at the same time. So again, to qualify what a human is, somebody who loves to hear stories that are enriching, that help you to overcome the difficulties of life, that help you to transcend. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Nishtra gunya Bhavarjuna, get beyond the three modes or the three energies of material nature and reach transcendence. The Vedas mainly deal with the three guna, isn't it? The three energies. And but we're expected to get above them and rise beyond them. So one thing I was telling our little drama troupe the other day, okay, so I think it was even just yesterday. So when we're on the stage and we're practicing, we're going to use that energy called Rajagun. It's the mode of passion. Lots of high energy. Be very creative about it. Do the best you can. After all that hard work and all sweat and then a good shower, you're tired. Then you take to the mode of tamagun, mode of ignorance. Have a good sleep. Dream. Have sweet dreams, right? And then, of course, when we're interacting with each other, because we are, what artists are like. They're a little bit frivolous. You may have noticed. We're a little bit on the wild side. There's wild people. There was that song, Born to be Wild. And then we're all not born or, wired to be mild. But in that case, when we're together as a group, we respect each other as devotees. Don't become too frivolous like that nature. So if we follow these energies well and follow our natural course with bhakti in our direction, blessings of Guru, blessings of the devotees all around us, then we can reach transcendence. It'll come one day. These stories are supposed to make a difference. And if you actually go to the Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, Divisions of Faith, text, check it out, text 16, you'll see that what's the solution dealing with let's say, agitated mind? Because the most common question that comes to me, to be honest with you, is how can I control my mind, even when I'm chanting japa? Does that sound familiar to some of you? How do I control this wild mind, which is like a monkey, which is like a clown? Whether it's through chanting or any other services, how to deal with it. And Prabhupada gives a solution. He talks about, the austerity of the mind. And he says there are these amazing epical stories, and they're found in the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, so on like that. Of course, we have our Bhagavatam here. And if you immerse yourselves in these stories and just keep it there, saturate, just fill it up, flood these wonderful, beautiful pastimes, then it is possible to, just to have less of that interference from Maya, which is very strong and very penetrating. So that's the solution. Immerse yourself. Talk about, it's got to be Krishna Katha. I know I find myself talking a little bit about Donald Trump, maybe more than I need to, but he's an interesting character, he really is. And, you know how he is with his hair. I don't know, he's not my favorite guy, but Hare Krishna. But it's, Srila Prabhupada, he was always took a little interest in current events, but he didn't get immersed in it. The real solution to the problems of life is to engage in Krishna Katha, as is expressed in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. My devotees are the greatest because they are always engaged in pastimes of myself. Machchita mudgata prana voriyanta parasparam katayanta stamam nitya tushanti cha ramanti cha. Tushanti and ramanti, key words. It implies happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, and this is the way to do it. There is no other way but to engage and immerse yourself in the beautiful pastimes of the Lord. So maybe, I'm just the speaker here. I didn't do a good job, but can I give you a little homework? Is that okay? Is that allowed? Okay. Little homework is that make an effort to tell a pastime to someone. It could be somebody you know, or someone who's relatively new, or it could be just some pilgrims who are coming, from Kolkata. Tell them a story about Krishna, and I just see the magic will flow. And it will flow a little bit like, the example is like a waterfalls, Where I live, it's near Niagara Falls. Anybody ever been there before? It's a beautiful place. And generally where waterfalls go, it's very and invigorating. And in fact, I've seen that there's so many pilgrims that go there, if I can use that term, pilgrims come there from all over the world. Every language you can imagine is there. People go there, and it's like, for them, it's, for a lot of folks, some of them coming from desert-torn places, this is God for them, this water coming down. It's very refreshing. So I would just say, my proposal is, be like a waterfalls today, and see how it works. And tell someone a story of the pastimes of the Lord. And see. And if you see me, report back to me. I'm your teacher. Okay? That'd be very nice. Let me know what the result was. And then I'm asking if you could do that just for me, because I don't do it enough. I don't tell enough pastimes. I don't remind people enough of the Lord. And but I need to do more of that. So thank you very much. I'll end it there, and I will just see if there's anybody who has some questions or comments they'd like to, based on what we just spoke about here this morning. And I'll take the opportunity to put out a little promotion for our production this year. We've got two. One is Vamana, and we like him too, right? He's cute, right? Vamana, he's got to be up there, right? Again, Varaha, I mean, I'm just a mundane person. Still, I'm having a little bit of a hard time to be super affectionate. But Vamana, and so that's one pastime. The other one is the Age of Kali, which we did last year. Because ILS is here, we thought we have a new audience. And it's tweaked, because tweaking is forever. We got new costumes. We're working on the dance numbers, so you'll like it. I hope you all show up. But please don't come every night, because, which is what happens a lot. Got to make room for the new pilgrims that come in. So we'll let you know when that happens in a few days. Give us 5 days or so. We'll let you in on the Samadhi Auditorium for some good shows. Thank you so much. Did anybody have any questions or comments or anything like that? Or if there's something you liked, can you please repeat it? If there's something you didn't like, then I can meet you in the back alley. I'm not the fighting kind, though. Anything at all? Hare Krishna. Yes, Sureshwara. Microphone. You know, I'm going to push this forward. My legs have to stretch.
Is it enough? Okay. So we hear that before we go back to Godhead, we join where the Lord is manifesting his pastimes in the material world for some, it's like a finishing school. It's a fine-tuning.
Oh, yeah, I think you'll have to...
Oh, like that, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes devotees say that the Hare Krishna movement is the finishing school, and that we're in the Lord's pastimes right now. What do you think about that?
I guess it depends on the consciousness of the people, you know. I mean, really, it's an individual situation. I don't think you can just, you know, one particular scenario works for all. But if you take the principles of Krishna consciousness very seriously, what Prabhupada has given to us, I personally have confidence we'll be able to do it. I mean, I'm very inspired by the story of Dhruva Maharaj, because within one lifetime, you know, he was able to do it. He was able to become very progressive and very advanced in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada's Guru Bhaktisiddhanta, I don't know what, I feel like having a pillow fight. Okay. He also used that as a reference, that it is possible to make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. You have to be very serious about it. And I know for a fact that we have issues in our communities. We have problems in Mayapur. We have problems with drugs. We have a lot of problems with drugs. Young people taking drugs. Maybe that sounds strange to some of you, but it's a real issue. And not just all the soft ones, but the hard ones. So I think that we have to just, some or other, what do we do about it? Once it's habit forming, it's very difficult to do something, really, to correct the situation. But, you know, to act in goodness means to be proactive, and certainly implementing these, you know, these principles that Prabhupada has given us, regulative principles of freedom, are going to be extremely helpful for our spiritual growth. So those who take it seriously will be able to go somewhere. But those who are going to be, you know, act like an animal, if I can use that term here, just a man who is like an animal, then it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take some lifetime. So I think that the key to success in this regard is to be a little picky about your association, your sangha. It means everything. So
thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Sureshwara Prabhu, it's always nice to have you. You are a person who reminds someone of Krishna. You do a good job at it. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you. You're a gopher. You got to go, 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 go. You gotta fight.
Hare
You
Krishna.
gotta win.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for the nice talk. I just want to ask, when we are in the movement for more than 20-25 years, and when we hear the same stories on a festival, and then we sometimes become casual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we sometimes it comes to mind, oh, we have heard this story. So how to relish the pastimes of Lord? Because when in the beginning we were so astounded and you were...
Oh, good point. Yeah, I like that question very much. Everything's novel in the beginning, and after a while maybe it gets a little dry. Well, I'll just tell you one method that I use, when it comes to the pastimes of the Lord, even reading from Krishna book or something like that. When I go to a gathering or where the people are, and I read a pastime that I've read 50 times before, I'll ask all the children to come in the front. Come in the front rows. All the kids in the community come in the front and kind of read to them, okay? And when it comes to reading them, we try to charade it out. We did a little sampling here. And I find it's really, really helpful. The kids, once the kids are all excited about this, everybody's sitting behind them, they all get excited. It's just a technique that really just works 100%, And then for me, you read it dramatically as much as you can, whether you went to drama school or not. I never went to drama school. I just was kind of in me previous life. I think that's just the way you read it. And whenever we approach any kind of devotional service, shouldn't there be an implementation of some kind of prayer, vandanam? My dear Lord, I'm approaching your pastime. Please help me to really appreciate it. Please help me to have the utmost reverence for it, and not to take it casually, but to rather to take it with utmost seriousness and absoluteness. I think that anything you do devotionally, we should be praying all the time. And I think, although it doesn't take much, Krishna's a good listener, by the way. When Arjuna was talking to Krishna, you go to chapter 1, Arjuna goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And Krishna doesn't say anything. What does that say about the Lord? It simply says that he's a good listener. That's all. So offer a prayer for anything that you're doing. And I try to invite kids. And of course, I love to engage our younger folks because, to be honest with you, everybody loves to watch young people do stuff, isn't it? Everybody it reminds you of yourself. Oh, I was there once. I wish I was there again. And of course, if you wait around, you'll get there again. But it's just the young folks have something to flaunt, and they are sponges. Children, teenagers, whatever, adolescents, they absorb. They are like sponges. So let's give them the best we can, and do it with love. Can't force. That's the worst thing to do. We don't want to hear about our young people backing off. They just, brainwashed me on this. It can't be done. It has to be administered with love, and also demonstrated by our good behavior and our kindness. And then you can compare notes. What's going on outside? What's going on in a Krishna conscious setting? Well, there is no comparison. So it's we preach a lot through our behavior, and St. Francis of Assisi said that. Preach, and if you have to, use some words. Anything else? Si, Senor.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. My question is that for sharing Krishna Katha with people through dramas, with new people who are not Krishna conscious, because there's so many movies, there's so much media in the world, everyone's minds are flooded with a deluge of images and songs and everything. how do we convince people to stop and pay attention? How do we convince them this is not something ordinary, this is something different?
Oh, yes. Just tell people not to go to movies, you're talking about, not to have some popcorn and stuff like that. Well, it is very difficult. And I mean, we need to make some kind of effort to invest in producing our own good stuff. I find that, you know, when you're doing a particular thing live, performance, it's much better than any screen presentation. Well, I'm the first one to admit I'll see a movie now and then, only when I go to India, because there's so many hours on the plane. But I always look at true stories. I don't look at fantasy. I hate those things. And of course, I'm not going to look at anything that monks are not supposed to look at, right? So, you know, but to get some ideas and something, you know, like when somebody first showed me, what's that, what was that? George, what's his name? That series of movies with the monkey and the captured woman and what, Tarzan? No. No, back in the 70s. And does anybody know? Huh? No. Skywalker, Ruth one. Star Wars, yeah. And I looked at that. This is the Ramayana. They got the same parallel characters in there. They stole that show, you know. They stole that show. They stole it. Everything's stolen. There's, you know, the Ramayana. It's about a woman being, you know, abducted, stolen, and same thing with the Mahabharata, the abuse of Draupadi. You know, it's similar themes, and there's a whole war surrounding trying to save a princess or a queen. You know, so the original stories, I believe, come from there. And, but to try to convince people, I think it's quite difficult. Maybe you get some ideas. I did see Avatar, but I didn't have any earplugs, so I just watched it. Blue people, I can relate to that. What I found a little strange about it, and this is really always impactful to me, I didn't find there were children in there, amongst those tribes, and I found, or very little mention of that. I think anytime when there's stories without children, I think it's abnormal. It's not natural, okay? Or there's got to be some old people. It's not, the world is not about Prince Charming and, you know, let's say princess, whatever. It's not like that, you know. So I think Prabhupada has given us everything. And I think we can make efforts. Some of you guys are really good on the computer. Start making, do some stuff out there. Make it, put out some good competition, you know, against those big productions, those blockbuster pieces, you know. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Namacharya. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yeah, please don't forget the homework assignment, okay? And get back to me when you see me. Please don't offer obeisances in the mud. Just tell me this, how the reaction was when you told someone. That's today. If you can't do it today, do it tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.